ever video post for Path to Casual. As we all know, my name is Amanda Stevens, and Path to Casual focuses on the more casual side of Magic the Gathering. Recently, I've been getting addicted, like everyone else, to Commander, and while trying to construct my Kadama of the North Tree deck, I was spending a long time scrolling through Gatherer to find some hidden gems. In doing so, I came across a few budget rares in green. They are all instants, and none of them cost more than about 25 cents on CardShark. The plan is to show you these cards and give you a brief explanation as to why they are so good. The first card up is Bind. It's a rare from Invasion that costs 1 in a green. Counter target activated ability. Mana abilities cannot be countered this way. Draw a card. Yes, you heard that right. There is a conditional counter spell, and it is mono green. And it isn't even from Time Spiral Block. I remember when I first started playing Invasion, I opened up this card in a pack, and I just kind of chuckled. I was like, wait, counterspell in green? And it kind of served me well. I mean, it was a one-of in a lot of my casual green decks, and it was pretty funny to stop certain cards like, Merfolk Looter by just going Bind, and your opponent gets a little mad at you. Now, the great thing about this card is that it's a sort of a stopgap, especially seeing as how there are levelers and all those new cards now that do have a lot of activated abilities, and green doesn't have a lot of way of handling creatures. So this is just an amazing card because green does have removal spells, especially for artifacts that may have activated abilities like an Acidic Slime and Creeping Mold and Mold Shambler and Naturalize, but none of those hit creatures, which is the biggest problem for green. It costs 1 in a green, which is pretty good, which means you can draw this at any point in the game and be able to cast this and still cast your big fatties. And it's also a cantrip, and once again, green's not known for having very effective cantrips, nor for having any really good draw spells. And you know what? It's not going to be hard to find a time to just cast Bind as a way to have it as a draw spell. So it makes that card just simply amazing. Following that card up is Lure of Prey. It costs 2 and 2 green and is from Mirage. Play only if an opponent successfully casts a summon spell this turn. Put a green summon card from your hand into play as though it was just played. The practical use of this card is pretty underrated. Think of it this way. Your opponent casts, a Windrake, and is now ready to hit you with some other jank flyer he had in play already, a Sage Owl. This card allows you to drop into play a Court Archer to block that dumb Sage Owl. And that is just a silly example. It's also a great way to sneak in your big fatty. I know you're going to be hearing a lot about big fatties when it comes to green. It allows you to sneak in like a big fatty like a Rocks at the end of their turn, so you can swing in with it on your turn. I just can't see there being a bad example of how to use this card. Imagine like getting out a turn 4 Myojin into the Life's Web just because your opponent casted a Wall of Omens, then removing that divinity counter and just emptying out your hand of just massive green creatures. Your opponent's really not going to know what to do after that, and it's going to not be a Day of Judgment or a Wall or a Wrath of God that's going to save him at that point because you've got that swing that next turn. This card's just really good and really powerful. Realms Uncharted hasn't seen much play in Standard as far as I have seen. It costs 2 and a green and is from Rise of the Eldrazi. Search your library for 4 land cards with different names and reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard and the rest into your hand. Then shuffle your library. For my Trevor the Renewer EDH deck, it has grabbed me any land I needed at that moment. The great part is that it can grab non-basic lands. So when I need Trevor's Ruins or a Seaside Citadel or a Sunpetal Grove, I can tutor out, them and, an island and reveal them. And more times than not, it's not a lose-lose situation for me. I usually get what I need, and it's pretty good. It sucks that your opponent chooses which to go to hand, and it's not like a fact or fiction where you pick the pile. And the other thing that does suck is that they go to hand and it's not a come into play effect. But if it was a come into play effect, it would not be a cheap rare, and I guarantee you'd be seeing in a lot of decks right now. Um, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's a pretty solid card, especially if you're playing a multicolored EDH deck, and green is part of that color. Last but certainly not least is Seed Time. It costs 1 in a green and is from Judgment. Played Seed Time only during your turn. Take an extra turn after this one if an opponent played a blue spell this turn. Yeah, green has a time walk and it's cheap and dumb broken. The conditional aspect of your opponent playing a blue spell this turn is pretty easily abused. And while a lot of people are saying, well, you shouldn't really run this main deck, I talk about casual. I'm not talking about, legacy or vintage or I don't know. I know it's not in extended, but extended or standard. I'm talking about a casual. So you have this card lying around for, that obnoxious blue player that comes into your play group every now and then. And he's pretty much like Permission Sam from Blue Green Madness. And you just play some stupid green card that Permission Sam is definitely going to counter. Let's go back to Myojin of the Life's Web. You let the counter resolve. You cast Autumn Veil, and if he's counter Autumn Veil, which he probably won't because hopefully he's tapped out, you now cast Seed Time, and you've got an extra turn. This is just a great card to shove into Blue's face. And it's another example of the love-hate relationship that blue and green have. It's just a great card. I also have it in my EDH deck because it's pretty common to see a blue in some shape or form in EDH. And you're always playing obnoxious spells, and your opponent's always ready to counter them. So it's just a great card to have around. So I hope you guys enjoyed this not so short video. I mean, I thought it was going to be short and turned out a lot to say about these cards. Next week I'm probably going to tackle some more cards in green that are, once again, good for EDH, good for casual play in general, and trying not to break your bank because I'm pretty poor. So, of course, I'm only looking for cards that are budget. Have fun.